The deep space research vessel Aurora drifted slowly through the asteroid field. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the mining robots work outside. The metal machines moved between the floating rocks like busy insects. They cut pieces of valuable minerals from the asteroids and loaded them into storage containers. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been exploring space for 20 years. This mission was supposed to be simple: find minerals, mine them, go home. Nothing exciting ever happened out here at the edge of human space. Amy Rodriguez sat at the navigation station. She was a young woman with dark hair tied back in a neat ponytail. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panels as she tracked the positions of all the mining robots. Amy had joined the crew only 6 months ago, but she was already one of the best navigators Jake had ever worked with. Ben Clark walked onto the bridge carrying a cup of hot coffee. He was the chief engineer and also Jake's oldest friend. Ben was short and round with grease stains on his uniform. He always smelled like machine oil and welding metal. Despite his messy appearance, Ben could fix anything that broke on the ship. Lisa Kim looked up from her communication station. She was monitoring radio signals from the mining robots and listening for any messages from Earth. Lisa was quiet and careful. She spoke 3 languages and could decode almost any signal the ship received. "How much longer until we finish here?" Jake asked Ben. Ben took a sip of his coffee and looked at the reports on his tablet. "Maybe 2 more days. The robots found a lot of good stuff in those rocks. The company will be very happy with what we bring back." Jake nodded. This mission would earn enough money to keep the Aurora running for another year. The ship was old and needed constant repairs. Jake loved the Aurora, but he sometimes wondered if it was time to retire and find a job on one of the safer inner worlds. Amy suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Commander, I'm getting some strange readings on the sensors. There's something big moving toward us." Jake walked over to look at Amy's screen. "How big?" "Much bigger than our ship. Maybe 10 times bigger. And it's moving fast." Lisa turned around in her chair. "I'm picking up signals from it. The signals are not like anything I've heard before. They're definitely not human." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. In 20 years of space travel, he had never encountered alien life. Most people believed aliens existed somewhere in the galaxy, but no human had ever met one. "Ben, get down to engineering and make sure our engines are ready to run," Jake ordered. "Amy, can you tell me more about that ship?" Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "It's made of some kind of metal I don't recognize. The shape is very strange. Long and thin with curves in places that don't make sense. And, Commander, it's definitely heading straight for us." The main screen at the front of the bridge suddenly lit up. A face appeared that made everyone gasp. It was clearly not human. The being had pale blue skin and large black eyes. Its head was longer than a human head, and it had no nose, just 2 small holes where a nose should be. "Humans of the vessel Aurora," the alien said. Its voice was smooth and calm. "I am High Counselor Vexstar of the Zephyrian Collective. You are operating in space that belongs to us. You must stop your activities immediately." Jake stepped forward. He had trained for first contact situations. But this was real, and it felt completely different from the simulations. "This is Commander Jake Morrison. We didn't know this area belonged to anyone. We're peaceful miners just collecting minerals from these asteroids." Vexstar's large eyes seemed to study Jake for a moment. "Your species has been expanding too quickly through this region of space. You take resources without permission and you build settlements without asking. This cannot continue." "We can discuss this," Jake said carefully. "Maybe we can work out some kind of agreement. We don't want any trouble." "The time for discussion has passed," Vexstar replied. "You will observe our demonstration of proper behavior." The alien's face disappeared from the screen. Immediately, alarms began ringing throughout the Aurora. Amy looked at her controls with confusion and growing fear. "Commander, all of our mining robots just stopped working. They're not responding to any commands." Ben's voice came over the ship's communication system from the engineering deck. "Jake, something is wrong with our engines. They're shutting down and I can't restart them." Jake watched through the bridge windows as the alien ship moved closer. It was enormous and beautiful in a frightening way. Its surface seemed to shift and change color as it moved. The ship made no sound, but Jake could feel vibrations through the Aurora's hull. "Our weapon systems are offline too," Amy reported. "Whatever they're doing to us, we can't fight back." Lisa was working frantically at her station. "I'm trying to send a message to Earth, but our communication array isn't working either." Jake realized that the aliens had somehow disabled every important system on his ship without damaging anything. This level of technology was far beyond anything humans possessed. The alien ship positioned itself next to the Aurora. Jake could see lights moving inside the alien vessel through what might have been windows or viewing ports. He wondered how many aliens were watching him right now. Vexstar's face appeared on the screen again. "Your mining equipment has been permanently disabled. Your ship's engines will function only enough to carry you back to the edge of your territory. You will tell your leaders that expansion beyond your current borders is forbidden. Any human vessels found in our space will be destroyed." "Wait," Jake said. "Please, we can talk about this." "We don't have to be enemies." "We are not enemies," Vexstar said. "We are simply correcting inappropriate behavior. Return to your own space and remember this lesson." The screen went dark. Jake felt the Aurora's engines restart, but they were running at very low power. Ben's voice came over the speakers again. "Jake, the engines work, but they're limited somehow. We have just enough power to get home, but we can't stay here or go anywhere else." Jake watched the alien ship turn and glide away into the darkness between the stars. In minutes it had disappeared completely. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered quietly. "And Lisa, as soon as our communications are fully restored, I want you to send a full report to Fleet Command." As the Aurora began its slow journey home, Jake stared out at the empty space where the alien ship had been. He knew that everything had just changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors had just made it very clear that humans were not welcome in their territory. Jake had no way of knowing that his final transmission to Earth would be interpreted very differently by the aliens than he intended. When he told Fleet Command that Earth will hear about this, the Zephyrians would see it as a threat rather than a simple report. The first misunderstanding had already begun. 3 days after the Aurora limped back into Earth space, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in her office at Fleet Command reading Jake Morrison's report for the 4th time. The words on the screen seemed impossible, but the evidence was clear. Humanity had made contact with an alien species, and it had not gone well. Kate was a serious woman with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes. She had spent 30 years in the space fleet, working her way up from a junior officer to the head of all human military operations. She had seen pirates, accidents, and equipment failures, but nothing had prepared her for this situation. The door to her office opened and President Ryan Walsh walked in. He was a tall man with gray hair and worried eyes. Behind him came Ambassador Maria Santos, a woman known throughout human space for her skill at solving difficult problems between different groups of people. "Admiral, I've read the report, President," Walsh said as he sat down across from Kate's desk. "Tell me honestly, how serious is this?" Kate turned her computer screen so both visitors could see the pictures that Jake's crew had taken of the alien ship. "Very serious, sir. These aliens have technology that's far ahead of ours. They disabled our ship without even trying hard. If they decide humans are a real threat, we could be in trouble." Maria leaned forward to look at the images more closely. "But they didn't hurt Commander Morrison's crew. They could have destroyed the Aurora easily, but they chose not to. That suggests they might be willing to talk." "Maybe," Kate said. "Or maybe they just didn't think we were worth killing yet." "President." Walsh stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the busy Fleet Command base. Hundreds of people were working at their jobs, unaware that everything might be about to change. "I want you to organize a diplomatic mission," he told Maria. "Take one of our fastest ships and a small crew. Try to make peaceful contact with these Zephyrians, see if we can work out some kind of understanding." Maria nodded. "I'll need a good ship and an experienced captain, someone who can stay calm under pressure." Take the venture, Kate suggested. Captain Luke Martinez commands her. He's one of our best, and he's good at thinking quickly when things go wrong. 2 weeks later, the diplomatic ship Venture approached the same area where Jake had encountered the aliens. Maria stood on the bridge next to Captain Martinez as they sent peaceful messages toward Zephyrian space. Luke Martinez was a man in his 40s with dark hair and calm brown eyes. He had commanded ships in dangerous situations before, but this mission made him nervous. The aliens had already shown they could control human ships easily. "Ambassador, we're getting a response," the communications officer reported. "But it's not words. Just some kind of signal that seems to be telling us to leave," Maria stepped forward. "Send our message again. Make it clear that we come in peace and want to talk." What Maria did not know was that the Zephyrians were watching her ship very carefully. High Counselor Vexstar stood in his command center studying the human vessel on his screens. "Another human ship approaches our territory," reported War Prime Cathara. "A tall alien with darker blue skin and scars across her face. This one is different from the mining ship. It carries weapons." Vexstar looked at the readings. The human ship did have weapons, even though they were not powered up. To the Zephyrians, this meant the humans were testing their defenses before launching an attack. "They ignore our warning," Vexstar said slowly. "First they send miners to steal our resources. Now they send a warship to see how we will respond. The humans are more aggressive than we thought." Back on the Venture, Luke watched his instruments with growing concern. "Ambassador, I'm detecting multiple alien ships moving in our direction. Big ones." Maria made a quick decision. "Send one. Final message saying we want peace, then get us out of here. We can't help humanity if we're destroyed or captured." The Venture turned and jumped to faster-than-light speed just as 3 Zephyrian ships arrived where it had been moments before. In the weeks that followed, things got much worse. The Zephyrians began attacking human cargo ships that traveled through space near their territory. They destroyed trading vessels and captured their crews. No humans were killed, but many disappeared and were never seen again. Dr. Alex Chun worked day and night in his laboratory on Earth trying to understand pieces of Zephyrian technology recovered from the attacks. Alex was a thin man with thick glasses who understood machines better than he understood people. "Their power systems are completely different from ours," he explained to Admiral Sullivan during one of their weekly meetings. "They use some kind of energy field that we can barely detect, let alone copy. If we're going to defend ourselves, we need to learn how their weapons work." Meanwhile, Captain Luke Martinez found himself commanding rescue missions to human colonies near alien space. The Zephyrians had established some kind of blockade around 3 human settlements, preventing supply ships from reaching them. "We've evacuated 2,000 people from New Denver colony so far," Luke reported to Kate during a video call from his ship. "But there are still 8,000 people trapped there. The aliens attack any ship that tries to get through their blockade." Kate studied the tactical reports on her screen. "What kind of ships are they using?" "Fast ones," Luke replied. "They appear out of nowhere, disable our ships, and disappear before we can fight back. It's like they're playing with us." The Zephyrians were indeed treating the situation as a controlled response to human aggression. War Prime Cathara met regularly with her military commanders to discuss their strategy. "The humans continue to send ships into our territory," she reported to the High Council. "Each time we stop them, more ships come. They are testing our resolve." "Perhaps we need to send a stronger message," suggested Fleet Commander Yexenol, a younger alien with bright blue skin and eager eyes. The stronger message came 3 months after first contact. A passenger transport ship called the Hope was carrying 3,000 civilians away from the besieged colony of New Denver. Families with children filled the ship's passenger areas. They were scared but hopeful that they would soon be safe. The Hope never made it out of the star system. Zephyrian ships surrounded it and, after determining it carried potential future human military personnel, destroyed it completely. In the alien way of thinking, they were preventing future conflicts by eliminating humans before they could become Soldiers, among the dead were 600 children from the colony's school ship, the news reached. Earth 18 hours later. President Walsh called an emergency meeting with all his top advisors. Admiral Sullivan sat quietly as she read the casualty reports. "They killed children," Maria said, her voice barely above a whisper. 3,000 civilians, including 600 kids. President Walsh's face had turned pale. His hands shook slightly as he spoke. "They just declared war on humanity. They may not know it yet, but that's what they did." Kate looked up from her reports. In all her years of military service, she had never seen the president look so angry. "What are your orders, sir?" she asked. Walsh stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but there was something cold and hard in his eyes that Kate had never seen before. "Admiral Sullivan, I'm declaring a state of emergency. Convert every shipyard, every factory, every resource we have to military production. As of right now, humanity is at war." The Zephyrians had made their biggest mistake. They thought they were dealing with a reasonable species that would back down when faced with superior force. They had no idea that killing human children would transform their opponents into something completely different. The sleeping giant was about to wake up, and it would be angrier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. 72 hours after the Hope was destroyed, humanity had transformed into something the Zephyrians could never have imagined. General Sam Parker stood in the new command center that had been built in 3 days where a shopping mall used to be. Around him, thousands of people worked at computer stations that had been assembled from parts taken from schools, offices, and homes. Sam was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a frontline soldier. He had fought in 3 small wars between human colonies, but those conflicts were nothing compared to what he was organizing now. "Give me the numbers," he told his assistant. A young woman named Carol, who had been a secretary in a law office 4 days ago. Carol looked at her tablet. "Every major factory on Earth has stopped making civilian products. They're all building ships, weapons, or supplies for the military now. Mars Colony has converted their mining equipment into shipbuilding tools. The asteroid belt stations are working around the clock to produce metal for new ships." Sam nodded. In just 3 days, humanity had done something that should have taken months. Every person, every machine, every resource was now focused on one goal, war. Dr. Ashley Morgan worked in a laboratory that had been a university chemistry building a week ago. Now it was filled with pieces of alien technology that had been collected from destroyed Zephyrian ships. Ashley was a small woman with red hair who normally studied how to make better medicines. Now she was trying to understand alien weapons. "The alien energy systems don't work like ours at all," she explained to General Parker during a video call. "But I think we can copy some of their ideas. If we combine their power technology with our manufacturing methods, we might be able to build ships that can fight them." "How long do you need?" Sam asked. Ashley looked at the alien device on her workbench. "Give me 2 weeks. Maybe less if we get more alien technology to study." Colonel Nick Torres was already getting that technology. He led a small team of soldiers who had volunteered for the most dangerous job in the war, attacking alien ships to capture their equipment. Nick was a quiet man who had been a teacher before he joined the military. He was very good at finding ways to solve problems that seemed impossible. "We hit 3 alien ships this week," Nick reported to General Parker. "We lost 2 of our ships, but we captured enough alien equipment to keep Dr. Morgan's team busy for months." Nick's team had learned something important about the aliens. The Zephyrians were used to fighting wars where both sides followed rules and took turns attacking each other. They were not prepared for humans who would crash their own ships into alien vessels to capture technology. Captain Matt Williams commanded the first human ship that had been modified with alien technology. The ship looked strange with human weapons attached to an alien power system, but it worked better than anyone had hoped. "We destroyed an alien supply depot yesterday," Matt reported during the weekly military meeting. "The aliens didn't expect us to attack so deep in their territory. They're starting to move their supply ships farther away from our space." Matt was a young man who had been the captain of a passenger ship before the war started. He had learned to fight by watching the aliens and copying their tactics, then changing those tactics to work better for humans. Engineer Kelly Foster had solved one of the biggest problems humanity faced. The aliens could build ships faster than humans could destroy them, but Kelly had found a way to change that. She worked in a factory that had been making cars 2 weeks ago and was now building warships. "We can build a new ship every 6 days now," Kelly told General Parker. "The aliens take 30 days to build one of their ships. Even if they destroy 2 of our ships for every one of theirs that we destroy, we'll still have more ships then." Them in a few months. Kelly had learned that humans were much better at building things quickly than the aliens were. The Zephyrians made perfect ships that lasted for hundreds of years. Humans made ships that lasted just long enough to fight a few battles before being replaced with better ones. The aliens were starting to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. High Counselor Vexstar met with his military leaders in their beautiful command center that had taken 50 years to build. "The humans are not responding as we expected," War Prime Cathara reported. "They should have accepted our demonstration of superior force and returned to their own territory. Instead, they have become more aggressive." Fleet Commander Yexenol looked at the tactical displays showing human ship movements. "They fight in ways that make no sense. They crash their ships into ours on purpose. They attack our supply bases instead of trying to protect their own colonies. They build ships that fall apart after a few battles." "How many human ships did we destroy this week?" Vexstar asked. 47, Cathara replied. "But they built 63 new ones. Every time we destroy their ships, more appear. It's like fighting an infection that spreads faster when you try to kill it." Vexstar studied the reports with growing confusion. "In our previous wars, when we destroyed enemy ships, their military became weaker. Why do the humans become stronger when we destroy their ships?" "I don't understand it either," Cathara admitted. "They seem to learn from every battle. When we destroy one of their ships, the next ships they send have improvements that make our weapons less effective." What the aliens didn't understand was that humans shared information in ways that seemed impossible to the Zephyrian mind. When Captain Matt Williams learned a new fighting technique, every human ship commander knew about it within days. When Dr. Ashley Morgan invented a new weapon, every human factory was building it within a week. The aliens had their own way of sharing information, but it took time. Decisions had to be discussed by committees, approved by councils, and implemented through proper channels. By the time a Zephyrian improvement reached their military, humans had already found 3 ways to counter it. Colonel Nick Torres captured another alien ship and brought it back to Dr. Morgan's laboratory. This time, the ship contained something new: communication equipment that let humans listen to alien radio signals. "General, you need to hear this." Ashley called Sam on the emergency phone line. Sam arrived at the laboratory within an hour. Ashley played a recording of alien voices speaking in their own language. A computer had translated their words into human speech. "They're scared," Ashley said quietly. "The aliens are actually frightened of us. They're calling emergency meetings and talking about whether they should ask for peace." Sam listened to the recording twice. The aliens were discussing whether humanity could be negotiated with or if they were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. "They started this war because they thought we were weak," Sam said. "Now they're wondering if we're too strong to stop. What do we do?" Ashley asked. Sam looked at the alien technology scattered around the laboratory. "In 6 months, humans had gone from being helpless victims to being a threat that scared their attackers. We keep building ships," he said. "We keep learning. And we make sure they understand that if you hurt human children, humanity will never stop coming for you." The aliens had wanted to teach humans a lesson about staying in their place. Instead, they had taught humanity something much more dangerous: how to become the strongest military force the galaxy had ever seen. War Prime Cathara was beginning to understand that the Zephyrians had not attacked a weak species. They had attacked something that became more dangerous every time it was hurt. And now it might be too late to make it stop? 6 months after the war began, Fleet Admiral Chris Anderson stood on the bridge of the massive warship Defiance and watched human ships prepare for the largest attack in the war so far. Chris was a woman with short black hair and cold blue eyes, who had been promoted 3 times in 6 months. She now commanded more ships than any human in history. Around her, hundreds of human vessels moved through space in perfect formation. These ships looked nothing like the ones humans had built a year ago. They were faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral, all strike groups are ready," reported Colonel June Brooks from her position at the tactical station. June was a small woman with brown hair who had been studying alien battle tactics since the war started. She could predict what alien ships would do before their own commanders knew. "Begin the attack," Chris ordered. The human fleet split into 12 groups and jumped to faster-than-light speed. Each group was heading to a different Zephyrian military base. The aliens would face simultaneous attacks across 4 star systems, something their military doctrine said was impossible for any enemy to coordinate. Dr. Lavar Kim watched the fleet disappear from her laboratory on Earth. Lavra was a young woman with long black hair who had been studying physics before the war started. Now she had invented new ways for ships to travel faster than light that made alien technology look slow and outdated. "The new drive systems are working perfectly," Lavra told General Parker over the video communication link. "Our ships can now travel 3 times faster than alien ships. They can't run away from us anymore, and they can't chase us when we want to leave." Lavra had combined human engineering with alien power sources in ways that the aliens had never thought possible. While Zephyrian scientists spent years testing each small change to their technology, Lavra tried new ideas every day. Most of them failed, but the ones that worked changed everything. Captain Dan Foster led one of the strike groups attacking an alien supply base near their home territory. Don was a man with red hair and a crooked smile who had been a cargo ship pilot before the war. Now he commanded 20 ships and missions that took the fight deep into enemy space. "Remember, we hit hard and fast," Don told his ship commanders over the radio. "Destroy everything that looks important, capture anything that looks useful, and get out before their reinforcements arrive." Dan's attack group appeared near the alien base without warning. The Zephyrians had built their supply depot in an asteroid field, thinking the floating rocks would protect them from attack. They had not expected humans to use the asteroids as weapons. "Fire the mining charges," Dunn ordered. Human ships that had been cargo haulers and mining vessels before the war used their industrial equipment to push asteroids into the alien base. The rocks moved slowly, but they were huge and impossible to stop. The aliens watched in horror as their carefully built structures were smashed by flying mountains. Commander Beth Ryan led the most unusual attack of the day. Beth was a tough woman with gray hair who had commanded mining operations in dangerous asteroid fields before the war. Now she used her mining ships in ways that terrified alien commanders. "Begin disassembly," Beth ordered her fleet. Beth's ships were modified mining vessels with powerful cutting tools and cargo arms. Instead of destroying the alien battle station with explosives, they began taking it apart piece by piece while alien defenders fired at them. The human ships had thick armor that protected them from alien weapons while their industrial tools cut through alien metal like paper. "This is working better than I hoped," Beth reported to Admiral Anderson. "We'll have their whole battle station loaded into our cargo holds in 2 hours." The aliens in the battle station sent desperate calls for help, but their rescue ships found only empty space when they arrived. Beth's mining fleet had literally stolen an entire alien military base and taken it back to human territory for study. War Prime Cathara received reports from all the attacked bases within hours. She stood in her command center reading casualty reports that seemed impossible. Human forces had attacked 12 locations at once, destroyed or captured everything important, and disappeared before Zephyrian reinforcements could respond. How did they coordinate attacks across such a large area? She asked. Fleet Commander Yexnal looked at the tactical display showing the locations of all the attacks. "I don't know. Our computers say it should be impossible for any species to plan operations on this scale. The communication delays alone should make such coordination impossible. Yet they did it, Cathara said quietly. They did something our own military cannot do. What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had learned to fight as one giant organism. Every human commander could talk to every other human commander instantly using communication technology. The aliens couldn't detect. When one human ship discovered something useful, every human ship knew about it within minutes. Fleet Commander Yxenel showed Cathara videos from the battle at the mining station. Look at this. They used industrial equipment as weapons. They turned asteroids into missiles. They stole an entire battle station instead of destroying it. Cathara watched the videos with growing confusion and fear. They don't fight like any military we've ever seen. They fight like wild animals that use technology. What should we do? Yxenel asked. Cathara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke in a voice that was barely above a whisper. Send a message to the human leadership. Tell them we want to discuss peace, but War Prime, our forces are still strong. We can continue fighting. Cathara looked at her young commander with sad eyes. No, we can't. Look at these reports carefully. 6 months ago, we could destroy their ships easily. 3 months ago, we were evenly matched. Today, they attacked 12 of our bases and we couldn't stop them. She pointed to the tactical display. They're not just winning battles. They're getting stronger every day while we get weaker. If we don't stop this war soon, they'll be strong enough to destroy our entire civilization. 2 days later, the Zephyrian peace message reached President Walsh on Earth. He read it while sitting in his office with Admiral Anderson and General Parker. They want to negotiate, Walsh said. They're offering to return to their original territory and leave us alone if we stop attacking them. Chris Anderson looked at the military reports on her tablet. Mr. President, we have them beaten. In another month, we could capture their homeworld. Walsh was quiet for a moment. He thought about the children who had died on the Hope and the families who would never see them again. They killed our children, he said finally. They started this war because they thought we were weak. They need to understand that actions have consequences. General Parker leaned forward. What are your orders, sir? Walsh looked out his window at the busy streets of Earth where people were working day and night to build more ships for the war. Send them a message, he said. Tell them it's too late for the peace they're offering. They wanted to see what humans do when they're threatened. Now they're going to see what humans do when they're angry. The Zephyrians had made first contact with humanity, hoping to teach them a simple lesson about staying in their proper place. Instead, they had awakened something that was now too strong to control and too angry to negotiate with. The aliens were about to learn that some mistakes cannot be undone. 2 years after first contact, Admiral Amy Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the enormous human flagship Vengeance as it approached the Zephyrian homeworld. Amy had been a young navigation officer on the Aurora when this war began. Now she commanded the largest military fleet in galactic history. The blue and green planet ahead of them was beautiful and peaceful looking. It was hard to believe that the beings who lived there had started a war by killing human children. Around Amy's ship, thousands of human vessels filled the space around the alien world like a metal storm. Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from the planet's surface, reported Captain Tony Garcia from the communications station. Tony had been a civilian radio operator before the war. Now he could speak 3 alien languages and understood military signals from dozens of different species. Amy looked at the peaceful planet and thought about the passenger ship Hope and all the families who had died there. Are their military forces surrendering too? Yes, Admiral. All Zephyrian ships in this system have powered down their weapons and are broadcasting surrender codes. Fleet Commander Yxenel sat in his damaged command ship watching the human fleet surround his homeworld. He was the last Zephyrian military commander still alive. All the others had been killed or captured during the 2-year war that had destroyed their entire civilization. Yxenel was a young alien who had believed his people were the strongest military force in the galaxy. Now, He watched human ships that were larger and more powerful than anything the Zephyrians had ever built. The humans had not just won the war. They had become something that made Zephyrian technology look like children's toys. "Send the final surrender message," Yxenil told his communications officer. "Tell the humans that we accept all their terms." Back on Earth, President Walsh sat in his office reading the surrender documents. With him were Dr. Maria Santos, who had become the head of xenological warfare studies, and General Parker, who was now the most powerful military commander in human history. "They're offering complete surrender," Maria explained. "They will give up all their territory except their home world. They will share all their technology with us. They will never again expand beyond their own star system." Walsh looked tired. The war had aged him 10 years in 2 years. "What about the other alien species? The ones we know have been watching this war?" Maria smiled for the first time in months. "Sir, we've received peaceful contact messages from 12 different alien civilizations in the past week. They all want to establish embassies and trade agreements with humanity." General Parker showed Walsh a report on his tablet. "The Altarian Republic wants to hire human ships to protect their trade routes. The Centauri Alliance is asking if we'll sell them human weapons to defend against pirates. 3 other species have asked if they can send their young people to human military schools." Walsh shook his head in amazement. 2 years ago, no one in the galaxy had heard of humans. Now they want us to be their protectors. "The Zephyrians taught the galaxy a lesson they didn't mean to teach," Maria said. "They showed everyone what happens when you threaten humanity. Now other species want to be our friends instead of our enemies." Admiral Rodriguez received new orders from Earth while her fleet waited around the Zephyrian homeworld. She was to accept the alien surrender, but also to establish the first human military base outside human territory. The galaxy had learned that humans could be provoked, and now they wanted humans nearby to discourage anyone else from starting wars. "Begin landing operations," Amy ordered. "Set up our base on their largest moon. Make sure they can see our ships from their planet surface every day." On the planet below, High Counselor Vexstar met with the surviving members of his government. Vexstar was the same alien who had disabled Jake Morrison's ship 2 years ago. He looked much older now, and his large black eyes were filled with regret. "The humans have agreed to let us live," he told the council. "But we will never again be a powerful civilization. Our military is destroyed, our colonies are occupied by human forces. Our people will remember for 1,000 generations that we started a war with beings who became stronger every time we hurt them. How did we make such a terrible mistake?" asked Counselor Rexara, an elderly alien who had always advised caution. Vexstar looked at the reports from the war that had just ended. "We thought they were like us. We thought that when we showed them superior force, they would accept their place and stop expanding. We didn't understand that humans become more dangerous when they are threatened." "What should we have done?" Rexara asked. "We should have talked to them first. We should have learned what they were like before we tried to control them. Most importantly, we should never have hurt their children." Vexstar pointed to a report about human psychology that their scientists had prepared too late to matter. "Humans bond with their young in ways we don't understand. When we killed those children, we didn't just attack their military or their territory. We attacked something that made every human in the galaxy want to fight us until one side was completely destroyed." 6 months later, Jake Morrison walked through the first alien embassy ever built on Earth. Jake was now an admiral, and was in charge of peaceful relations with alien species. The embassy was a beautiful building with representatives from 15 different alien civilizations. Jake stopped at the Altarian section where Ambassador Veldara was meeting with human trade officials. Veldara was a tall alien with silver skin and large, gentle eyes. "Admiral Morrison," Veldara said in perfect human language, "I wanted to thank you again for agreeing to protect our shipping routes. Since your ships began escorting our cargo vessels, we haven't lost a single ship to pirates." Jake nodded politely. "We're happy to help. Peaceful trade benefits everyone." What Jake didn't say was that the pirates had stopped attacking Altarian ships the moment they learned humans were protecting them. The galaxy had learned that fighting humans was a mistake that few species could survive. Jake walked to his office and looked out the window at the busy spaceport where human and alien ships worked together. In 2 years, humanity had gone from being unknown explorers to being the species that everyone wanted as an ally and no one wanted as an enemy. Dr. Ashley. Morgan entered Jake's office carrying a folder full of reports. Ashley now ran the department of interspecies technology exchange, sharing human innovations with friendly alien species while making sure dangerous technology didn't fall into the wrong hands. The Zephyrians have sent us their complete scientific database, Ashley told Jake. Everything they know about physics, medicine, and engineering. It's their final payment for losing the war. Jake read through the summary of Zephyrian knowledge. Will this help us? Some of it will, Ashley replied. But honestly, Admiral, we've already moved beyond most of their technology. The war made us innovate so fast that we're now more advanced than they ever were. Jake thought about Commander Vexstar and the alien who had started this war by trying to teach humans a lesson about staying in their proper place. Make sure we share the useful parts of their technology with our allies, Jake said. And make sure the Zephyrians know we're doing it. They should understand that their knowledge is now being used to make their former enemies stronger. That evening, Jake stood on his apartment balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were teaching their children about the species called humans. They would learn that humans were generally peaceful and willing to trade and cooperate. But they would also learn that humans protected their young with a fierceness that could destroy entire civilizations. The Zephyrians had wanted to demonstrate their power by stopping human expansion. Instead, they had created the strongest military force the galaxy had ever known. They had turned humanity from curious explorers into the species that other civilizations called when they needed protection from threats they couldn't handle themselves. Most importantly, they had taught the galaxy a lesson that would be remembered for thousands of years. Humans didn't want to be the monsters that everyone feared, but they would become monsters to protect what they loved. The war was over, but its message would echo through the galaxy forever. Never provoke the humans. Never threaten their children. And never make the mistake of thinking that because they want peace, they are not capable of total war. The Zephyrians had learned this lesson, but they had learned it too late.